I purchased this faulty Nintendo Switch off of eBay for £50, which is the equivalent of $65, and it doesn't power on. The aim is to fix it and sell it for a little bit of profit. Let's get on with it. First off, we're actually going to see and just test to make sure that it does not power on, because a lot of the items that I buy off of eBay, sometimes I get them and they just work. Mainly Xbox One consoles. It's been quite a while since I've worked on a Nintendo Switch, but I love working on them. It's definitely not powering on, so we have nothing. Here I have an official Nintendo USB-C charger that is plugged in to an ammeter. This is going to give us an indication of what's going on with the Nintendo Switch when we plug it in to the USB-C port down here. The condition of this Nintendo Switch isn't half bad, it's not horrendous. There's a couple of scratches, especially up here as you can see at the top left, and also just some minor scratches on the opposite side. All of the screws seem to be intact, so we've got 2 up here and we've got 1 at the top, that's good. Rails aren't that scratched, which is also a result. However, as always, we are missing the rear kickstand. It's like the most common thing when buying a faulty Switch. Serial number is XAJ400. As far as I'm aware, you cannot hack this Switch. Let's put the ammeter in and see what results we get. It's been a decent couple of weeks since I've actually worked on a Nintendo Switch. So we can see here that we're getting 5.19 volts and we're getting a draw of 0.16 amps. When you put the ammeter into a Nintendo Switch, I think it's meant to go up to around about 0.47. Then it drops down, it resets, and then it turns itself back on. I think it can ramp itself up to like 0.7. So the fact we've got a 0.16 proves that there's definitely something wrong with this Switch. Let's check the other side of it as well. So if I turn it over, do we get the same result? Oof, we get some flashing. Let's double check by taking it out and putting it back in. Flashing again. Okay. When I've had flashing ones before, usually that indicates a bad charging port. And whenever I take these charging ports off, especially recently, I have torn traces. So I have to be super careful when looking at its charging port. Let's take this Nintendo Switch apart and investigate the issue. So far, it doesn't actually look like this Nintendo Switch has been opened, but what I can tell you is, can you see all of this liquid damage up here? It stems from the top left. If we're holding the Switch normally like this, which is how people would play it, on the top left, that's where you have all of this corrosion and liquid damage. And it seems to be quite severe. I think this has been on here for a long time, which doesn't give me much faith on the board underneath. This Switch is infested with corrosion. This is that top left part we were talking about. We were holding it from the other side, and if we look down here, all of this is screwed. You've got where the battery is, that's horrifically damaged by water. We've got the whole charging port. We've got some components here. The M92 T36 chip is pretty much underwater. We also have a tiny bit of corrosion on the ribbon cable up here. I'll record this just in case something happens when I try and take this out. Very corroded. You've got to take it out very slowly. Wow. Oh dear. You know what though? I've got faith. I'm going to be a bit more realistic, okay? Now that I've got a little bit deeper into the console, there's water damage here on this connector. The game cartridge slot had loads of water damage. I took off the fan and look at all the water damage around in this area. Even the fan connector here is severely moldy. Chances of this surviving? I'll give it a 3 out of 10. This ribbon cable here is a goner because of the water damage that's on it, as with this one as well. Disgusting. Let's have a look at this bad boy underneath the scope. Should we start with the simple place, which is, oh my gosh, oh dear, would you look at that? I don't even know what's gone on with this cap. Yeah, there's so much wrong with this board. There is so much wrong with it. Oh wow. My theory is that somebody was 100% playing this after the water damage had sunk itself into the skin of the Nintendo Switch. I mean, as you can see, that's the water damage sticker. This is the charging port, and just would you look at that. Moving ourselves up, again, we just have water damage around a load of these components here. M92 T36, how you looking? Not great, are you? You're not looking good whatsoever. We move up the board over to the left. We've got a nice clean connector. Okay, this is where the eMMC is, the memory. Lovely. But then we have signs of quite a bit of corrosion up here, but this is the fan. More corrosion up where the game cartridge slots in right here. So you're probably thinking like, Joey, where are you going to start with this? Because there's so much corrosion everywhere. Well, to be honest, I'm probably going to give everything a decent clean, because there isn't a certain area of the board that is causing this. It just seems to be everywhere. I feel like I'm comfortable enough to not take pictures. There is corrosion on almost every single component. P13 USB, this is not looking good. And then we move up, and yeah, as you can see, even from this chip, absolutely disgusting mess all around it. follows it all the way up here. This is the back of the CPU, and look at this. I had a Nintendo Switch a couple of months ago which had corrosion all over here, and we managed to get that working. That was just after a really decent scrub and clean. I wouldn't say it was on this level, but there was certainly like a lot of water damage, especially around the CPU and to the right side of the board. Let me get this cleaned with a toothbrush and some isopropyl alcohol. Just to give you like a quick before and after sort of comparison, this is what we now look like cleaner. I don't know if these caps are alive. I actually have no idea. They don't look it, do they? Let's be honest. The port itself looks a lot better, but again, there's still some corrosion down in the port. This area looks a lot better. We have the M92 area here. Looks a lot better than what it did before. There were a little bit of corrosion in between, as you can see. And then you got the P13 chip. Look at that as well. Nice. I think it would be wrong of me to not try this now that everything is a little bit cleaner, right? And see if we just get a different result. So let's try that. Let's plug in the ammeter and the charging cable and see if we get anything different. 0.06, 0.10, 0.09, 7. So it's different to what it was previously, but it's still not doing anything. Switch it around to the back. Remember before it was flickering, it was like DDD on off, on off, on off. But now we get the same as what we do on the front, which is 0.08. I feel like that is a bit of a success because we're getting something different to what we were before. So that's kind of good. That clean that we done to get rid of all the water damage has done something. Might not be good, we don't know, but it's done something. Even though it could be all she wrote for this Nintendo Switch, I do want to just check the basic testing on my multimeter in continuity mode. First off, we'll be checking the fuse down here to make sure that there's continuity going through. I should hear a beep, which there is. It took a while, but there is. I'll start backwards and I'm just going to check around here, around the BQ chip. Oh. Well, that cap no longer exists. Anything else that looks kind of loose? I'm just giving things a light prod, and if they fall off, then they're not going to be fit for purpose, should we say. Do we get continuity on the coil? Yes. I doubt this cap here could be a reason as to why it's not working, but I mean, it's a possibility, right? It was only small. Do we have any shorts to ground on these caps? No shorts to ground from what I can see. That little resistor has just fallen off. I'm pretty sure it's a resistor. That's a goner as well. See you later. Anyone else want to leave? You do as well? Jeez. So we have lost a few resistors, RIP resistors. We've lost this one. Another one just fall off? No, that was the same one. This one, and this little cap down here. Now if we move up to the M92 chip, let's see what's going on here. Let's go. This is okay. That's okay. That's okay. And that's okay. All right. And the CPU isn't supposedly dead. If we had a short to ground on this side of the cap, usually it indicates a dead CPU, so that's good. Let's check P13 on the back right here. Yeah, it's fine. Nice. Should we, in that scenario, just replace a few of these resistors and little bits and bobs to see if that makes any difference whatsoever? I mean, at this point, it's just a bit of fun, right? If I get it working, it's a huge miracle. I don't think it's going to, but let's just replace some of these little small components. This little cap down here has decided that it no longer wants to be part of the journey, which is fine. We can see you later, my friend. I think we've stumbled across a bit of an issue. I'm just going to clean this area up just to make sure that I'm not waffling. Slang for making it up. I don't think there is a pad here for me to put this little resistor onto. I have to put one here and one here just above this one, and I don't think there's a pad for me to put it to. There's nothing to scrape away. That's annoying because I don't know what kind of importance this plays, you see. And this little line here going to this BQ chip could play a very important role in something. That's why I think a lot of people don't actually work on devices that are this water damaged. So I've done a little bit more research on this particular pad right here. I'm assuming this little trace goes to a resistor and then this pad then goes somewhere else on the board. And I'm going to show you where that pad goes. So the red X marks a spot as to the pad that I'm looking at, right? Which is this one right here. If I now go through the layers of the board, we can see that this pad here, I follow this trace and it goes, and it ends up on this green X, on this pad-like thing here. If I go back to the main board view, this pad, I've marked it exactly where it was, doesn't exist. We have what I think is a capacitor here. I think this X that I'm looking at is under a different layer of the board. Unfortunately, it's not on the top layer of the board, so I can't run a jumper from here to something that is 2-3 layers down on the board, you see. I could be looking at this completely wrong because I am a noob, and if I am wrong, please let me know in the comment section down below. You can just see from everything that we've got, it's just so corroded that it's not worth it to try and fix. I could fix this trace on this board and then I've got 30 other things wrong with the board because of the amount of water damage that is on it. I'll take this opportunity to try and use what I can. I know that the battery is a complete goner. That wouldn't surprise me. The ribbon cable for the screen seems to be okay. And if I just need to use some random caps across it, that would also be very, very handy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great weekend and I will see you in the next one. Peace.